Brother, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good. How you doing today?
Feeling good. I'm glad to have you here. Finally, we've been talking back and forth on the Instagram and also the email. I discovered your program on my third Instagram channel because that third channel is specifically to connect with those that are podcasting like yourself. I'm glad to have you on here. I want to talk to you, pick your brain about your show. And peace to everybody in the chat room again. Give that brother all the respect that you can. I see you in there, Art Will, and some of the folks that are coming in little by little. We got Killer Whale that's coming in. I really appreciate that. So, brother, let everybody know about yourself. Anything that you feel comfortable letting people know about yourself that led you to going into podcast.
Yeah. So like you said, the name of the show is the Fade Up Podcast, which is heavily inspired, as hopefully most can guess, from barbershop talk. And out here, I go to a barbershop. A friend of mine actually is my barber, and him and I, we just get into a lot of stuff. We sit down, we talk, we chop it up. You know how the barbershop gets, so like you introduced on the show, like you get that kind of like that barbecue feel. And a lot of times we would talk about stuff, and I'm like, man, I wish we could catch some of this stuff like on just on like video or on a mic or something. And that kind of led me to the idea of like, well, why can't we push this platform out a different way? It doesn't necessarily have to be caught here, which would be cool too. That might be an idea I explore later on down the line. But just to be able to sit down here, I have my cousin usually does a show with me, and a friend of his does it. And then, we bring guests in and out, and we sit down, we chop it up based off of whatever topic we decide to choose from week to week. So, we just let it go, man. And we have a lot of fun doing it. So my main inspiration was just capturing those conversations, getting them out. And, even deeper than that, hoping that what we do can inspire others to kind of get out there and do the same thing.
Okay. Now, you what type of topics you covered? I've heard you guys on there talk about relationships.
Yeah.
I talked to you before we came on today that you've got situations where you have family, your mother, people that you're close with, and how sometimes when you are a man getting on your grown man shit, that you sometimes not let your mother or family members kind of hold back your growth. Because when it comes to moms, I've got a mom, they always going to see you as their baby, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, when I was married, when I left home, moved out, and had a fiance, and eventually got married. This is probably going to be controversial what I'm saying. I think for mothers, their sons are probably the most consistent men in their life, maybe the only men that have truly loved them in their life. And when a woman comes in your life and takes you from your mother, as she may see it, they see the other woman as sometimes a problem. So I went through when I was moving out and getting married. My mother was going through her changes because I was the only stable man in her life on a real level, brother. So you guys talk about that. I mean, what else? Touch on some other things that you guys have touched on.
Yeah, we like I said, we try to keep it with barbershop talk and just the stuff that we would generally chop it up in there with. One thing, we talked about recently, like we had a Beyonce episode. So a friend of mine was on here, and that episode was based on, is it okay to now put like Beyonce on the same level as Michael Jackson? I had to clarify that because a lot of people went back and forth. You see, I got a Thriller shirt on right now, if you don't notice. But we had that conversation. We talked about Colin Kaepernick. Ironically, we talked about Colin Kaepernick a few days before they announced his tryout. And my take on there was, I'm like, as controversial as I think it's going to sound, and this is me saying that back then, is that Colin Kaepernick, I think, should move on from the NFL because his purpose, his calling is elsewhere. Also, I just don't believe that no matter what he does, no matter how much he conforms, if he ever decides to do that they're going to let him back in there because, it's someone has to lay on the sword, and it's him, unfortunately. And like you said, we talked about dating and relationships, and we got a few other topics down the line that we're going to go into, man. But, one of the big ones personal for me was the mental health one. That's the one where you kind of talked on a little bit with my relationship with my mother, which, we have a great relationship, but just coming up as a man and Black man, And for me, especially like with my mom, I was always kind of the just go with whatever it is she said. And I just, it hit me one day that I didn't want to do that anymore. But a lot of that came from mental health triggers, in which I talked about in the episode, and me suffering from bipolar depression and things. And that was a really important episode for me to get out and push out there, because I feel like in the Black community, we don't talk about that stuff enough.
It's funny that you would say that, because I actually am a mental health. I've worked as a therapist.
Mm.
I deal with guys in the prison system. I've worked with kids in various different populations over my years in my profession. And that is one of the issues that we, I think, is taboo for Black people. We don't tend to like to talk about it. We have little words that we use for family members. Oh, that's crazy, Uncle George. He's been touched. Or we say these sort of things. But there are people in our family and even ourselves where we are suffering from possibly some mental health issues. And those are issues that are serious, because we need to address those issues, because whether we want to admit it or not, there are Black young men and women that are actually committing suicide and taking their life.
Yeah, exactly.
Struggle with mental health problems.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why it was important for me to get that out, because I wanted to erase the stigmas on it. That, especially for me, suffering from bipolar depression, everybody thinks it has to do with like anger issues or something like that, and triggers. And I'm like, that's different. If you have an anger issue, you have an anger issue. It's not necessarily the same thing, but just trying to get that stuff out, trying to get awareness in the Black community, and let's not be afraid to open up and talk about that more. It's the elephant in the room, and everybody at some point in time is going to suffer through some kind of mental health issue. Maybe not to a point where you have to get diagnosed with something, but it happens. So it's important to talk about, and it's important to get everybody's eyes and ears in front of that.
Right. Let me say shout out to Natural Alicia, if I'm saying the name right. She's a good sister. She check out her channel, folks. She also sells products and things of that nature that we as Black people would enjoy, clothing items and things of that nature. Yeah, I want to commend you on taking a chance, brother, on doing something like that, because a lot of people don't have courage to talk about those type of issues. So I want to give you all the kudos. We had Diva TV coming in the house. She says, hello, everyone. It's good to see you here, sister. I think it's very encouraging. Now, as far as podcasting is concerned, what is it that attracts you to that? I mean, I know when I started doing YouTube, I wanted to have a voice to talk about things. Normally, Black people, our issues are not being addressed on the alphabet channels. That's my purpose, because there's a lot of issues that they're not covering on these channels. And I feel like instead of waiting on the system or the ABC channels to talk about our issues, we as Black people should take advantage of social media to bring out issues and talk about things that can actually help us and get solutions. So what is it that got you captivated by it? I know everybody's got a damn podcast damn near now, but what is it that really attracted you to that platform?
Just being able to use my voice, and kind of similar to what you had mentioned, just putting spotlight on those issues. And like I said, everything we talk about is not necessarily an issue. Some stuff that we talk about is just fun, but wanting to just be able to use that voice, like what can I use my voice for that can impact and change people's lives, and just knowing also, like with podcasts, where you can take it, how open the market is. Like you said, it seems like everybody has a podcast, but then when you look up the numbers, like I think it's around 80-something% of people have heard of a podcast, 67% listen to a podcast, but that I don't even know the numbers on how many people consistently listen to them after that. So like you have a voice there. Another thing that I could say after I started that really attracted me, and kudos to you, because what you're doing with the show is like the podcast community is very, very close knit, and everyone takes care of one another. Everybody shouts one another out. I haven't run into anybody with ego issue or trying to push their podcast to be better than yours, or let me capitalize on what you're doing and try to remix it, re-engineer it into what I want it to be. Everybody's like really, really close, really open, honest with one another, really caring. Everybody has your back. They throw out ideas to you. They tell you, things that they're using, what they ran into. So all of that community too, just kind of, it pulls me in.
That's excellent. Let me say shout out to Miss Miles, and then let me say shout out to Brother Alexander. He says, Uncle Info. He calls me Uncle Info. I like this brother right here. He's definitely a good supporter of the show. And then we got Sister Sugar Love in the house. Sugar Love, you another sister that I got to get you on my platform for an interview. So I'm glad that you're here. Everybody that's here, definitely share this in your community tab, your social media, what have you. I'm talking right now with brother Birdman of the Fade Up podcast. So he doesn't have a YouTube channel right now. He does have a podcast, but I was talking to him earlier and encouraging him to get on the YouTube wavelength. Brother, you said to me that you're interested in that.
Yeah.
How far are you from cracking it open? Are you doing some research, more research on it? What do you need to do to get this thing going?
I've been doing my research, but I feel we're pretty close to it. Initially, we kind of wanted to build up a fan base first, get us, a consistent amount of listeners. But with a lot of it, and I equated to what we did with the podcast, is like what's holding us back from doing it? We don't need to wait for the perfect time, perfect opportunity. Let's just go ahead. We have the resources now. We feel like we have the outlet, the voice, and let's go ahead and do it. So that's the next step. I'm trying to get that started, likely beginning of 2020, within the first month.
Okay, definitely. I think if you create the YouTube channel, it is going to bring you people over to the podcast too. So it can go hand in hand. Some people say if you already have a YouTube channel and you start podcasting like myself, then it helps you to bring people who are already familiar with you over, because you want to create familiarity. People need to know who you are, what you're about, what you have to offer. So that's very important step. In terms of social issues today, there's a lot going on in the news. You got Donald Trump, who's being, I guess they're trying to impeach him now.
Yeah.
You've got the ADOS movement, American Descendants of Slavery. Then you've got those who say, no, I define myself as foundational Black American. We've got issues around Black men and Black women. Do we get along with each other? Do we really love each other? There's issues about how we're being betrayed. I did a show talking about Black male image with a brother that I know by the name of BMT. If he's out there, shout out to brother BMT of Black Male Talk. And we were talking about the Black male's image. How has the image been distorted and impacted over time?
Yeah.
So any issue that you're passionate about, brother, that you want to bring up and talk about, we can get into that right now. But I want to get your thoughts on some of the things that I brought up. You see what's happening in society today as it impacts Black people. What are your thoughts?
We live in a world, I guess, where we thought things were going to get better for us. But it always goes back to that age-old saying that history kind of repeats itself, and it's crazy to see right now the amount of racism and how open that stuff is. I know when I was younger, when I was a kid, like, you didn't really see it. It was there, but it didn't really exist openly. But it's kind of like I've seen the world kind of transition back to what you dealt with, not as extreme in the Jim Crow era, but how people are blatantly and openly racist during the civil rights movement. Like, to be a Black man or Black woman in America right now, I mean, I wouldn't want to be any other thing but that. But just the stigma that we carry upon us, and it's insane to look at one race that's so heavily maligned as we are. And it's obvious, and people sweep it under the rug. It's not a big deal. I'll take prime example, the Mike Biggs situation. And I'm not a supporter of anyone who does anything wrong to animals. I love dogs. I get teary eyed over stuff that you see happening with them. But at the same time, like, Michael Vick repented for all of that. He donates to charities, animal shelters, and all that kind of stuff. He put that behind him, and wrong is wrong. He owned up to all of that. He took his lumps, and the man found a way to turn his life around. And because he's could be a Hall of Fame inductee. Now all of a sudden, people want to bring back something that happened 15 years ago and say that he doesn't deserve it. Let's put out petitions. Let's do all this stuff. But yet, racism is okay. We're okay with, Colin Kaepernick being blackballed out the league because he's trying to bring social awareness to Black issues, and Black men and women being murdered, targeted, brutalized in our streets by our own, police force, the same police force that's charged with protecting us. So we're okay with that. We don't want to petition that. We don't want to go after that. But yet this guy, he supports animal cruelty, allegedly supports it, and so we need to ban him. It's just an interesting thing when it comes to the black-white issue, and it's just so obvious. And that kind of stuff, I really, really get passionate about, because it's sickening to see. It's hard to see. It's hard to go through. I don't know how many out there have gone through blatant things that happen blatantly when it comes to racial issues and stuff, but it's not a good feeling. So that kind of stuff, like, it needs to be brought out. It needs to be spoken about, and no one should be afraid to speak about it.
Right. Sister, I am Tasha is a fantastic sister. Once again, I've got to get her on. I know I say these things, folks, but believe me, I have long list, and you all know that I do most of my YouTubing on the weekend. I'm a working guy. Okay. And I'm gonna get to everybody. Work with me here. But let me just say this, brother. She put a good message out here, and everyone, I'm gonna put their messages up. I hope you can see that, brother. And I probably will I'm gonna do something where you can see the chat room on your part. Are you using a phone, or what are you using, brother?
I'm on my MacBook, so I actually see the chat now.
Okay, I'm gonna it says let the guests see that. Okay, good. Then you must be okay. She says here, they're saying by 2053, black people will have no wealth.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a lot of predictions about where we're going to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping with what she just put in, and let me say shout out to George Frazier and Earl Owens, who's coming, and Black Bruce Wayne Jr., who's coming, and all these wonderful people. Beverly, Sister Beverly, I hope I'm saying her name right. BVERLE, Beverly. Thank you for being here, sister. Alexander, brother, thank you for being here. What are your thoughts about our future? And,
Mm-hmm.
and you are, I'm about 50 years old, brother. So are you a millennial? I hate putting people in boxes, but I'm, but you bring a different perspective being a younger brother. So what are folks within your circles, black folks around your age, what are they talking about in terms of the future?
For us, especially specifically my group, a lot of the guys I hang with are highly motivated individuals. And we focus on a lot of things like that: our financial future, our personal health, our mental health. And we know the way things are set up is kind of set up in a way to target us as black people and take away many things that other communities and things they get to have the benefit of. And for us, we try to talk about building wealth internally, because we know that wealth may not be available for us. We may not have the same opportunities. In a lot of instances, we don't have the same opportunities anyway. And again, it goes back to what I said with the blatant racism. They're not afraid to squeeze you out, or at least try to squeeze you out. So for us, it's very important to try to come together, create things, build things for ourselves, and put those ideas out there and try to change the world. Because to that point, can we steer it in a different direction? I think we can. I don't see why not. Us as black people, we should be able to. But to hear that is scary, because it's the outside forces that are trying to actually bottleneck us. It's not us. It's not anything we're doing. It's what they're doing to us.
Okay. So would you say that, because I always believe this, that no matter what they try to do, no matter what society tries to do to us,
mm-hmm.
you got to keep getting. It's just like give you an analogy. It's just like if I'm riding a bike when I was a kid and I'm learning how to ride a bike. What did we do as children, as kids? Your in my community, the men said, "Get your butt back on that damn bike, boy. Yeah. And you go ride that bike."
Right.
And I was crashing into stuff, and they'd be like, "Get back up, do it again." Right. So same analogy. We know we got racism, we got all kind of isms out there, institutionalized things, but we got to look at it like a bike. You got to get back up on that damn bike and keep riding forward. Don't let anything distract you and keep you off of your purpose. Man, this is my philosophy, brother. Men, particularly men and women too, but men, we need to have purpose.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I kind of teach my daughter too. Because I got a daughter, she'll be 10 in a couple of weeks. And I have very open, honest conversations with her about a lot of these things. And it's like, I always tell her, like, you can only rely on you in the end. Not that you can't get help, not that you want to have a support system, but it starts with you. And we have to get out of that mentality. And I think we kind of largely have as Black people now, because we're kind of tired of it. But we got to get out of that mentality of, the white man's holding me back, because we're past that. We got to be past that. And if we keep running into that like that, we shouldn't allow that to be a crutch anymore. So we got to take advantage, or we got to take control of our own futures, and not wait for them to do things to us, because that's what they're going to do.
All right, I'm glad you said that, brother, because on YouTube, when you get going on here, that's one of the things that a lot of Black men talk about, that we need to take control of our own image by creating our own media, our own voices. By creating a podcast or getting on YouTube or any social media where you can have a voice, that's in a way, in my opinion, taking back the narrative for yourself. The alphabet channels on television do not reflect the truth. And I'm gonna tell you something. It's already been put out there that 70% of younger people are getting most of their information from. Excuse me. Let me add some tea here. My throat's been bothering me. I think I'm trying to come down with a cold, but we've got a lot of young folks, millennials, a lot of younger generation. They're getting a lot of information through social media, through using YouTube. People are not watching TV as much. TV is not as relevant as you think it is, because they got all the shiny bells and whistles. I don't mean a damn thing. Okay. It's what the young people in the streets really see as relevant to them. And a lot of times it's brothers like myself with my little Raggly channel and you podcasting and other good folks that's in that chat room who's got doing things on these platforms. A lot of times we are the ones, and I'm not trying to tout myself as better than anybody, but we are the ones that are providing the newspaper, the information that is relevant, that these alphabet channels ain't doing and can't do.
Right. Information is power.
Tell the truth.
So, so with your podcast, brother, is that, not speaking for you, but is that sort of with the barbershop style that you have? Is that sort of where you guys want to reach? You want to be able to influence people in a positive way, a powerful way?
When it comes to the audience, it's not so much just reaching that specific. I mean, I do have a target audience that I look for, but we want to be diverse enough to where anybody could tune in, anybody could relate to it or pull something back from it, whether it be Black person, white person, Asian, young, old, doesn't really matter for us. We want to be able to, like I said, present what we're doing in a way that it's enlightening other people, it's inspiring other people. But it can be, the issue is relevant to everybody, because believe it or not, the issue is relevant to everybody. What we're talking about, especially when we deep dive into certain topics, like it does affect you. It doesn't just stay in this one circle, this one pocket. Like, for instance, if we're talking about racism and stuff, that's not just for Black people. It is for white people too. It's for other races too. They deal with it, but they also need to understand what we go through and what we deal with. And it's important to put them into put that stuff in a perspective and put it in their mind in the forefront, to let them know, like, hey, this is real. Like, we're not just making this stuff up. And like I said, whatever else we talk about on the show, I feel like a lot of what we do affects other people and what we say. So it's all about getting information out. It's all about inspiring others. I want to take this podcast beyond just podcasting. I want to create my own internet media-based network. And that's what I intend to do. And it starts with here. Like you said, it's about us, Black men, Black women, owning that kind of stuff. We're delivering the information. We always have, honestly. We're followed, our trends and things we trend set all that stuff. So that's important.
This is what I want you to do at this moment, brother. And once again, everybody, you're listening to the Information Man Show. Peace to everybody out there in the chat room that's come in. I know Sister QT1 has come into the house. I have a lot of respect for you, sister. Love you. Glad that you're here. Sister, I know you said that I hadn't uploaded in a while. I tend to do most of my shows on the weekend. Last weekend, I took a little bit of a break. Life gets in sometimes life. And you can attest to this, brother Birdman of the Fade Up podcast. Sometimes life can get in the way of what you're trying to do when you're doing podcasts or doing anything like what I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you got to take a little bit break and step away and then recharge yourself and come on back. It happens sometimes. What are your thoughts about that? When you do your podcast, do you feel like you get burned out? Are you getting burned out, or you just getting started?
For me, I feel like I'm just getting started, so I don't really feel the burnout. And I don't like allow bars or anything or ceilings to stop me. Like, for instance, with my co-host, sometimes it could be challenging for them to get here. I don't let that stop the show. Like when we did the dating and relationships one, I had two female friends of mine come over and to give their woman's perspective of it. When we did I did an episode on the NCAA and the NFL a few weeks back. A friend of mine, I had him come on. So for right now, like I said, I feel like I'm just getting started. I don't take those moments and say, okay, well, if you guys can't come by, I'm going to get a break. I'm going to get a rest. I spend a lot of my time, like even when I leave work, I get here, I'm doing some kind of research. I'm doing some kind of work on it. It might get to a point where maybe I feel like I'm getting burned out and I need to step back. But for right now, I'm just getting started and I'm enjoying it. It's a hell of a
Fantastic. It's a hell of a ride. You're not lying about that. Right now, let me say what's up to brother Adubian, who's just come in the house. Everybody give him some love. And then we got my man Raymond here, the brother that you see on the screen. I want everybody, he's in the chat room. He's a mod. He's got a YouTube channel. He does a little bit of everything on his channel. He does reviews on products and food and all different types of things. And he's a hardworking brother. The brother's got 1,000 jobs. He's like, yo, man, he's got everything. He does everything. He's a hardworking brother. He takes care of his kids. Check out his channel, click on his avatar, and you know what to do. Subscribe to his channel, give him some love. He's a great brother. And I still got to do I got to do an interview with him. Brother, I got the number, so we're going to get it going. Don't worry. We're going to get that interview going. I just got a lot of stuff on my plate, but it's going to happen. You're right. We gotta, I once knew an older man. He was like in his 80s, and he said, when you decide to retire from life, you're already dead. He says the reason why he lives as long as he has is because he doesn't believe in retirement. He says, I'll be retired when I'm buried and gone.
Right.
And I think that's the mentality that we got to adapt, that there is no retirement. Mm-hmm. You recharge your battery and you keep going. So no matter how old if you got breath in your body and you can see and you can move and you got somewhat of a mind, there should be no time in your life where you retire. Retirement is for the dead. Now I've heard a lot, and I heard a lot of older people say this, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like when you look at wealthy people, man, they spend their entire lives working. Like they're not, and it's working in one way, shape, or form. What they're doing is actually, I don't even want to call it work, because for a lot of them, they're doing what they love. I think you only get really truly wealthy when you're doing something that you love doing, and that creates that life for you. But they don't stop. Think, for instance, we talk about think about Oprah, how big she is, a media mogul, billionaire, first Black woman billionaire. When she walked away from her show, a lot of people thought that as a retirement. Oprah didn't walk away from what she was doing. She retired the show, and then she went and created a network. She created these specialty interview shows. She created a production company. She did all these other things. So they don't stop. They keep going. And if they are retiring something, they're moving on from one area of business and focusing on something else, or multiple businesses. But yeah, you have to adapt that mentality that when one door closes, man, another door opens for opportunity, and you keep going after that. And if not, then you need to create those opportunities yourself. because that's what's going to take you to the next level.
True. You're telling the truth, brother.
Tell the truth.
Wow. So your other partners that are a part of your podcast, brother, tell me a little bit about how you collaborated with these. Are these brothers that you've known since childhood? That you meet them through social media? I mean, how'd you collab with the other two brothers that are part of the show?
Yeah, so I kind of when I got to a point like early this year where I really started diving into like I got to get this off the ground. I didn't really know what I wanted to do as far as did I want it to be a one-person show with just me and interviewing people every week, or did I want to have other hosts on? And I kind of, I was at that dilemma. I just so happened to be with my cousin because he's, like I said, he's one of the hosts. So we were having a conversation. And I just brought up podcasting, and he was like, me and Wes is another guy on the show. He's like, we've been talking about doing something like that. We were talking about sports, and we get into all these different things. And I'm like, well, I'm about to start this show, so why don't you all jump on? And we have, a similar thought process. We try not to be closed-minded. So I'm like, well, let's all just get on the show and build off that. So that's how we came together, and that's how I got the two of them involved.
Okay. Let me say a shout out to Chef and More. I love this sister. She is the truth. Let me give a great disclaimer here. Just for a moment. She is a great sister, Chef and More. Check out her channel. She also helps people to grow their channel. When you come over there, she gives you love. She tells people to support each other. She's fantastic. Okay. She's another one I've got to get up on this platform with me. She's a superstar, folks. So check her out. And Sister J Dunn, I'm gonna put her message up on here too. This sister right here that you see, J Dunn, check her out. She's the real deal. And like I said, when I went over to her channel, she greeted me with open arms and support. Let me give a shout out to this sister right here who gave me a wonderful message saying, hey, Info, when are you going to be back on? I miss you. I was thinking about you. That's QT1. I love you for your support, sister. She's a deep sister. Any of you in the chat room who are content creators, go ahead and do me the great favor by checking each other's channels out and subscribing and giving support. Now, she says here, I understand information, man. I should have clarified I hadn't been notified any missed your lives. Yeah. Well, let me just say this. YouTube's got problems with the notifications. Sometimes everybody's not getting them. I should have more people in here. And I know why, because people are not getting notifications. That's why I try to send out my own notifications as much as I can. And that's why after the interview was over with the Fade Up podcast, this brother here, Birdman, there'll probably be more people that'll put more views on this video after the fact. So I want to say peace to everybody and remind everybody that's listening right now out in Spreaker. This is also being podcast on my first channel, Information Man Show. Go ahead and check me out. For those of you that are listening to me, whether it be on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, iHeart Podcast. I'm on all these different platforms. This interview, this will also be on those platforms as well, being ported over. And you can always hear me on Spreaker live as well. I'm trying to give you some interchangeable information that's different from all the different platforms. And of course, I have a second channel, Information Man Speaks podcast as well. So check all that out. I'm glad to see you all over here. And those of you that will be listening to this, wherever you are in the world, day, night. Brother Birdman, coming back, brother. Let's talk about another issue. I don't know if you're married, you have kids, you have a family life. But what is your thoughts about where black women and black men are right now within your generation? What do you think that it's dire stress, dire may between us, that we are disconnected? Or do you think that we're not completely as apart as some people think we may be?
It's interesting you asked that. I think it could be that I don't think we're really as far apart as everyone thinks we are. I think we tell ourselves that, but I think there's a lot of misguidance in how we relate to one another, and how we deal with one another. There's a lot of, and we're going to do an episode about this in a few weeks, but there's a lot of things going on you see right now with toxic male masculinity, and how we're raising our children, or how we're interacting with one another. One of the things that come to mind is like the T.I. situation with his daughter, and what he said, about his daughter versus his sons. And he said something like, if my daughter gets pregnant, that changes my household. If my son gets somebody pregnant, I don't see how that changes my household. And I thought about that, for instance, for a minute, because I do have a daughter, and it doesn't matter. And I'm not married or anything, but to me, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. You have an underage child, doesn't have an income, doesn't have anything coming in, and I know, these guys, some of them, they think themselves as millionaires, and their kids could get money and do all this other stuff. But your sons, last time I checked, are living under your roof. So if they were to get somebody pregnant, it's a good chance you are going to be helping to support that child too. So it does actually affect and change your household. But those kind of things like that divide, to think that we're so dissimilar that I have to interact with women this way versus I have to interact with men this way, or raise them this way, and that kind of stuff. So we got to button that kind of stuff up. Come together more, recognizing we're hurting one another more, and start actually, having one another's backs, especially between Black men and women, because we are a commodity of, and trophies, I would want to say, to white people, because they're looking to take us out. So, we got to get better with that.
Right. So we can't afford to be divided amongst ourselves. Now, I do have to bring this up too, brother, because on YouTube, when you get on YouTube, brother, these are issues that are going to come up within Black YouTube in particular. The issue around the single mother as it relates to raising a young male, and the whole, when you look at media, and I'm not blaming Black women for this, because I do believe that there are Black women out here that are doing the best they can with raising male sons, but it still takes male energy. I myself had a single mother. My mother was divorced, and it was the village of the community with men in it that raised me. I was raised by the barbershop. Since you got barbershop talk, I was raised by the old men in the garage playing checkers and drinking Johnny Walker Red. The Black men in the community that took a watchful eye over everything that we did.
Yeah, and
I think it is important for young men to have masculine energy, proper. Not just masculine energy, but it has to be proper masculine energy, meaning men who are classic men that are on their square. Now, I got to get your opinion on this, and I don't mean no harm to anybody's sexual preferences. That's your business. But as a Black male, I am concerned about how Black males are portrayed in mass media, in movies and television and things of that nature, where they're always trying to put young men in a dress. I'll give you a case in point. And I should have blown up the picture of this. There was someone who adopted a young Black child, white woman, and they did a Christmas picture where they put the young Black child, a young Black kid, he doesn't know any difference.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They put him in a dress. On a ad. I'm long-winded here, I know. What is your thoughts? I have concerns.
Yeah. To me, it kind of goes back to, and I'm like you, when it comes to sexual preference and things like that, I'm a very forward-thinking person. So I believe that people live life the way they want to live it and should be happy in doing so. As long as you're happy, and as long as you are, you're bringing positivity to the world, and not creating danger, and what you should do, do what makes you happy and what makes you feel good. But to that point too, like there is kind of a concern with at least trying to, I don't know if the word is demasculate or whatever, our Black men, but it goes back to like Willie Lynch's teachings. And Willie Lynch, for those that don't know, he was considered like kind of like the godfather of what they actually call modern slavery. People try to say slavery, but it's modern slavery, because he would preach in his writings that there inevitably Black people are going to be free. So we need to. He was saying that they need to move past, slave owners need to move past the thought of having to own slaves, and what you need to do is you need to start attacking them mentally. And so what he would do is he would preach to slave owners, what you do is you go get your biggest mule, because you know we were considered animals and those kind of things. So you go get your biggest mule out the stable, and in front of his women and children, you tear his clothes off and you beat him naked, and you beat him into submission. And the point of doing it wasn't to punish him per se. What he was doing was, in front of women and children, he was trying to minimize who the Black male figure. And that's what he was saying. Like, that's how you keep them mentally enslaved. Another thing he would also talk about doing is ripping the Black male away from the family early on. So you take that male, you sell him off to another slave owner. And what that does is it creates this mentality of what you see now with the absentee father, and trying to, you know, me as a male, it desensitizes me to my children, and the children also learn to grow up without fathers, and the women end up looking at the Black male a certain way because the man has moved on. He's attached himself from loving his family. And that kind of is the same thing with Hollywood. You do that because it's, you know, it could be a form of population control or whatever. If we can, you know, feminize Black men, or not even feminize them, if we can take Black men and we can have them be viewed upon lesser in the eyes of their women and children, then you lose that respect, you lose that faith, you lose that pillar in the community. So it is a level of concern to me, because why does that, and not only that too, another thing I have an issue with it is, why does that define whether or not you have a successful Hollywood career as a Black man? Because if you can act, you can act. That's all that matters. I mean, we've seen Denzel Washington do it, you know, throughout his whole career. He's considered one of the greatest actors of all time, like, period. Doesn't matter whether he's Black or not. But now they're trying to get these younger guys to come in, and they say, hey, you have to be this kind of, portray this kind of character, and if you want to have some success.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a few controversial questions before we get anywhere near concluding this interview tonight. And I want to say peace to everybody listening out there in the chat room. I think George Frazier, Q21. Anita B is coming into the chat room. And there's another sister that came in that I want to give some respect to. She's got a beautiful avatar right there. Other side of 40, Crystal, aka Miss VHS. Thank you for being here. And if you haven't subscribed, anybody that's come in that hasn't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And before we end this live stream this evening, I also going to have this brother tell you exactly where you can find his podcast, because I would like people to check out his podcast. I mean, the thing about podcasts, brother, that I find fantastic is that you can listen to them anywhere you are. You could be driving in your car. You could be working out in the gym and you could just turn it on. You could just, sometimes, you know what I do when I listen to people's podcasts? I do the same thing with YouTube, is when I wake up out in the morning, I just turn it on while I'm making my bed up, taking a shower, brushing my teeth. I mean, that's what's so powerful about it, is that you can pretty much take the message anywhere. Yo, YouTube is the same thing, but I think podcasting on another level can be even more powerful, because the message can be transported anywhere, and you can download the podcast to your phone very easily. Yeah. Even if you're not necessarily a subscriber to that particular platform, you can download it and then share it very easily with other people. You can share it with people, but there are some barriers here and there. But podcast is even more accessible with spreading the information to people. And I think right now, podcasting doesn't have as many restrictions on it as YouTube has in terms of what you can do and can't do and all of that. I'm sure it's coming down the pipeline on podcasting. But with that said, brother, what are your thoughts about that in terms of the viability of podcasting for yourself and your show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. It's so much you can leverage, and as a matter of fact, what you're saying that there's a guy. His name is it's Louis something. He's kind of known for helping people start out podcasts. I'll try to see if I can find his information. But one thing he talks about with podcasting a lot is he's like, you should use podcasts even if you're a business owner. And say you're not, this might not be the medium you're in, but say you might be designing clothes or whatever, that could be the business you're in. So having a podcast is a great way to kind of get visibility on that. So I love how much you could leverage it. I love the freedom of it. Again, like you said, you'll probably get something coming down the line when it can get regulated as it becomes bigger. But for now, to be able to enjoy that freedom and fun, to say what you need to say, get whatever information you want to get out there, leverage it for your business, leverage it for friendships, relationships, advice. There's just so many things you could so many different ways you could take it. And that's
right.
What I love about it.
Right. Let me say a shout out to Brother Kingdom. Kingdom, he just super chatted me. Let me thank him for the super chat.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Thank you for the super chat.
So I want to thank that brother. And I just modded you up, brother. He's been very supportive of me. He's also a brother that podcast. Let me give him a shout out again. Hey, Brother Kingdom, if you like, since I modded you up, brother, you can drop the link because he's got a YouTube channel too, folks. So make sure you check out his YouTube channel. You can drop the link to your YouTube channel if you like, as well as your podcast in the chat room if you like too, brother. You can go ahead and do that. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Brother Birdman, let me ask you this other question, another controversial issue. You have you had a chance to sit back and observe the this whole issue around reparations and the ADOS movement? Are people who may say I'm a foundational Black American. Tariq talks about it. Yvette Carlette and Tone talks. There's been a lot going on, and whether it's good or bad, brothers, I like to get people's opinion, whether good or bad. What is your opinion about this particular movement that's happening, and as it relates to these politicians too? But what is your thought?
That the movement I'm not 100% familiar with. I'm close on the reparation stuff. I know there's a town, I think there's a town in Illinois or something like that that's planning to kind of give reparations to their Black to the Black citizens in there. But that would probably be something I have to do a little bit more information diving into on. So I guess right now I don't have any thoughts on it.
Well, this is what I want you to do, brother. If you want to learn about it, go to on your own time, go to ADOS 101. There's a website where you can study up on it. Basically, what it is that Black people that were born here, as we call foundational, meaning you were born here, your family has roots in this country coming out of slavery.
Okay.
We're basically saying that we are owed something in terms of reparations. And so the ADOS movement, it coins itself as American descendants of slavery in terms of this big battle over putting pressure on these politicians as it relates to the issues of reparations. So that's the movement that's going on, that's been buzzing all over YouTube. Okay. I've done live streams about it. There's people who have different opinions about it, right? Some people are for it, some people are against it. Some people say that it's dividing and conquering in terms of the fact that it's putting American Black people against Black people that come from the Caribbean or from Africa, because we're basically saying that, and I'm going to keep it 100% real. It's been thought that a lot of people have been riding off of the coattails of Black people in America, because a lot of the laws in this country, as far as civil rights, a lot of this stuff was stuff that our people laid the foundation for. And people came over and they have benefited. And at the same time, sometimes we feel disrespected by other people, talk to us a certain way, talk to us greasy and what have you.
Yeah.
And I continue to say there is no division. brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and Africa are also fighting for their reparations against Great Britain and land. And this is something that we're looking at for ourselves. So it's not necessary about a division, but there's some that will see it that way. Okay. And so that's what's going on in the streets right now, brother. That's what's going on in these YouTube streets, the talk, the debates, and what have you. And let me say peace to Brother Kingdom again for the super chat, brother. You do it again. You didn't have to do it, but you did it. So thank you again, my good brother.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you again for the super chat again. So that's kind of what's going on. Everybody's got their different opinions, pro and con. But what is your thoughts? Do you believe that black people in America whose ancestors paid a heavy price, not only slavery, but in Jim Crow?
Yeah.
Do you believe that we should have reparations?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely should. I mean, the problem that you have there, though, is you're dealing with a country that doesn't want to acknowledge its history. America is very much so a country that's like, let's move on from our sins. Because we want to pretend like we're the perfect world. We have our world leaders who constantly talk about religion and those kind of things, but these are the same individuals that are doing dirt behind closed doors. You hear Donald Trump, our president, always talks things in the name of God, and this, for all intents and purposes, he's one of the most foul people that you could see out there publicly. But America doesn't want to own up to its sins. It doesn't want to admit slavery. When you look at a country like Germany and what happened during the Holocaust, and how they've acknowledged that and how they paid back things to those families that were affected by the Holocaust, we are owed that. We're not necessarily here in this country. I know there's certain movements out there that say that blacks are original Americans and things. I'm not sure if that's true or not, and from what I know, we didn't come here willingly. We didn't wake up in the morning and decide, let's, travel on some unknown ocean for thousands and thousands of miles, risk our lives, dying, laying on top of each other in horrible conditions, so that we can go to some other country and we can serve other people and get beat, get humiliated. Yeah, we just woke up and decided that was a great thing to do.
Right.
That's not the case. So I definitely believe like we're owed something. If it's not financial, it should be in the way of land. If it's not in the way of land, it should be debt relief. If it's not in the way of debt relief, it should be with jobs. Things should be something. It should definitely be something.
I'm one to believe that if we get reparations, that with that type of money, we could build our own schools and take care of our damn selves. Yeah. I know there's also the controversy of what is your thoughts? You'll have some black folks that will say, well, if you give them ends money, they gonna spend the money. They gonna spend all that money and give it right back to the Chris Kringle, the white man.
For me, when I hear that kind of stuff, man, I laugh at it, because you don't need that many people to create a solid infrastructure or foundation for something. Well, we have individuals who, if we were given that money, that they're going to go out and they're going to spend it on. It was a joke. I think Cedric the Entertainer or something had years ago, like, we get reparations, Cadillac is going to become the #1 dealer and all this other stuff. I was on the Dave Chappelle show. And yeah, there's going to be people that get money and they're going to go out and they're going to spend it. They're going to blow it. They're going to buy clothes. They're going to buy, jewelry. They're going to do all this stuff they shouldn't do. But I think we can create enough of an infrastructure amongst other individuals who are looking to create businesses, who are looking to build generational wealth, that could either insulate us from that or, show those individuals something. But I don't really subscribe to the idea that by and large, you're going to have millions and millions of black people that are now out blowing the money on stuff. I don't think that. And I think that could be one of the reasons why our government doesn't want to give reparations, because they understand the power of a bunch of black people putting their money together could overthrow this current system the way it is. So I think that could be another reason why they don't want to do it. It's also, it's not just not acknowledging the sins, but also like we don't want to give them money because they could take this over.
Right, brother. You're on point. Let me give you some.
Tell the truth.
I'm telling the truth. I got to give out some shout outs. I got my man Art New Style TV in the chat room. Peace to that, brother. Please, people, check out his channel. He's an artist. He's a professor. Works with our kids. He's a teacher, a professional, great artist. Check out his channel as well. Now we got my man who's a military veteran. Give him respect, everybody in the chat room. That's my man Cat PY2, Cat PY2, and he has a channel where he talks about survival. Brother Birdman, he talks about survival and how we need to learn how to survive off the land. If something was to happen and we couldn't buy food and we couldn't, how are we going to survive? How are we going to know how to work, live in the wilderness, right? So he talks about that. And then I got another brother who's dear to my heart, Brother Yapo, who I'm so glad to see him here. And me and him are going to be doing an interview. Brother Yapo says, even if we use it for toilet paper, that means reparations. It is not for anyone's business when a person receives their paycheck. The company does not, nor has the right to ask how they plan to spend it. That's true. That's true. And let me give a shout out to the guy from Texas. That guy from Texas. Good to see you here, brother. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm glad to see you here. And George Frazier, QT1, Sister Dunn, Anita B is in the house again. My man Art New Style. Got to get him back on my platform for another interview because he's doing. Oh my God, my man, brother Greg Harris. I was wondering where you was at, Greg Harris. He says, I'm 59 years old. My parents grew up in the Alabama Jim Crow South. That's right. So, Brother Birdman of the Fade Up Podcast. Everybody remember this name, the Fade Up Podcast, okay? Brother Birdman, that brother's making good sense. When they tell us, well, how are we going to identify who is owed money? Wait a minute. Black folks got grandparents. We're not that far removed from Jim Crow.
Yeah, it's not.
So that whole argument goes right down the drain. And Brother Greg Harris, he puts it out there. He's 59 years old and his parents grew up in Alabama Jim Crow South. So, and these are the things that you hear even our own people will say because they want us to shut up about that issue. And my man Earl Owens is in the house. Thank you for being here again. And many of the people who came through so far. Wow. I'm really glad that we were able to talk about that. Now, let me touch on another issue before we come to any type of conclusion. Do you have kids of your own, a son, a daughter?
Yeah, I got one daughter. So, and I'm a full-time father, which is hard to, a lot of people don't see that a lot in our community. My daughter, her mother is still around. She does well, but my daughter is with me.
Brother, I got to give you a clap, and I'm going to tell you why. And everybody in the chat room, do me a favor. If the broadcast is coming out nice and clear, let me know, because Yard Streams has problems with popping, which I can't control. But if it's coming out clear, or it has been clear tonight, put a yes in the chat room. This is why I'm clapping for you, brother. I have been on panels on YouTube debating with people sometimes, and sometimes there's a narrative put out there that black men don't take care of their kids. You've heard these things before, these stereotypes that black men run around and impregnate many women, and we're playing games and we have all these kids we don't take care of. Now, certainly there are fools out there who fit that narrative. It is not the majority, because I was married for about 15 years. I've been divorced 11, going on 12 now. I have a daughter that I take care of. I'm co-parenting with the ex. I don't have drama. I've stepped up from day one my child was born. And people would say that, oh, well, you guys are like anomaly. It's rare. No, it's a lot of black men out here that are doing the damn thing. Now, tell us about the situation, because this is the kind of stuff that I like to promote that black men are doing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So and it's funny, we talk about this. We had a thing at my job a couple months ago was like a training. One of the things we were talking about is it's like a diversity and inclusion training, and we were talking about stereotype, and that was one of the things I had said that the first thing I say, like when I tell people that I raised my daughter, everybody's like, why? And they automatically assume, well, her mom must not be around. There must be all these factors to why you're raising your daughter because you're not doing it willingly on your own. Into that, people don't say that verbally, but you can see that in their eyes or you can hear it in their tone when they ask that question. But the truth of the matter is I'm like, there are a lot of Black men that are raising their children and want to raise their children and be in their children's lives willingly. I think it's more of a stereotype to say that we're not, because there's no facts based in that. Yeah, there are men who skip out on their children's lives and things, but there are men who are all kinds of races doing it. But we do exist, and I'm just like how you said with your daughter and your ex-wife, you're co-parenting, you're doing the things you need to do for your daughter. My daughter's mom and I, we get along great. We have no issues. There's no drama. She doesn't worry about what I do. I don't worry about what she does. But the bottom line is we know that we have to raise our daughter. And for me, my daughter being with me is the best situation for all of us. And I refuse to let that go. And my example came out of that with me is because, my father has always been around, but my father was never an attentive father. He never paid attention to what I did. He never was really involved in my life. He was just kind of that when I was, a teenager coming up, that was great because I was never going to be disciplined. I could do what I wanted to do. But when you get older, you realize you need that nourishment. You need that relationship. And I didn't, and I still don't have that relationship with them. So my determination was always going to be that no matter where I end up when it comes to my daughter and her mother, that, I'm going to be a part of my daughter's life. And I'm not going to be that narrative or that stigma that you as a Black man can't raise your daughter, don't raise your daughter, don't raise your daughters or your children. You run away from them, even so far to the point where, like I said, my daughter is with me because I know it's the best thing. She's not with me because her mother's not in the picture or some other crazy circumstance. She's with me because it's the best thing. And I want to raise my daughter to be, a productive Black woman in this society, be whoever she's going to be when she grows up.
Right. Let me tell you what happened to me. I'm going to give some personal stuff. And let me tell you something, Bird, man. You got a fantastic podcast, brother, but I'm going to be continuing to talk to you, brother, because I like being able to engage with brothers on real talk like this. And this is fantastic. Just this week, my daughter's mother called me, and I'm telling you this, I ain't gonna lie. I felt good. I felt good as a man. She said, "Oh, I took, my daughter, I took our daughter to the hospital, and they're saying that something wasn't covered right or on medical or what have you." So I went to my job to the HR department. I said, "Now what's going on? My daughter's been on my medical care for God knows how long. Y'all got to fix this situation." Okay. And so I was able to get the situation fixed. Right. But that's what a man should do. I took care of it. I took the pressure off of her and said, "I'll take care of this. I'll look into what's going on." Because she's on my medical has been, and I got it taken care of. It was a little small technicality, and I got that taken care of because my daughter has some checkups and things coming up. I'm not gonna lie, I felt good as a man because I was able to deal with a situation, keep the stress off of the ex-wife that she didn't need, and I dealt with it as a man and got it fixed and rectified. And I knew what the problem was, so I knew it was going to be rectified, but I took it upon myself to deal with the issue, get everything taken care of. My daughter is fine. Everything's fine. These are the things that we as men, when raising our kids, have to step up to the ball and do. Right? I think as a man, if you're divorced in this case, your child needs to be on your medical. Matter of fact, something else that we need to think of as Black people, because we're not living forever. You need to open up life insurance policy because that's another way. I had someone tell me this that works in business. Another way to generate wealth, not only your home, is creating life insurance policy for your kids to benefit from when your black ass ain't here no more.
Yeah.
So if you are a black man and you have children, and here come my man BMT coming in. Damn it, I like BMT. You best to get some life insurance policy for your child.
Mm-hmm.
Do something. Open up some damn something.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing that, what are you doing?
Right.
That's concerned. I'm not trying to call nobody out. I'm just saying, we as black men, we have to step up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We got to do more, and we got to create that influence because it starts with us, and it always has started with us. Like I said, it goes back to what I talked about with the Willie Lynch teachings. It starts with us, and they know that too. But we have to know that outside of that, take away from white people, other races and things. We ourselves have to know that it has to start with us because we are the influence. And if us as men aren't living right or creating the right image, and it trickles down to not just the boys or the other sons, it also our daughters who grow up to become women, and they carry that. So it's everyone. We all carry it around.
Right. Now I'm going to ask you an extra controversial question. Mm-hmm. There's a brother in the chat room by the name of Yapo who's going to be very happy that I'm bringing this up. I did a video about this, and then I had to take the video down. Tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Detroit.
Detroit's in the house, everybody. Detroit is in the house. Detroit. Okay, now we got to get into the controversial stuff. I did a video where I showed some footage about how you live in Detroit, so you're on ground level. You can tell us better. But I did a video a couple years ago where they're showing how you got these predatory companies or people who are buying homes up under black people. So let's say you live in a house and you got some mortgage issues that you're dealing with. And they come in and they buy the house. They were auctioning homes that black people lived in Detroit. I don't know how many people in the chat room are aware of this.
Yeah.
And you have a person knock on your door. Check this out. And they say to you, by the way, ma'am or sir, I actually own the deed or own your home now. I know that you have had some problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to make you a renter. And you used to own the house, but we got it now. So do you want to move out the house and get the hell out? Or if you don't, we will rent you the house. And you say to yourself, what do you mean you own my house? This is the stuff that had been going on in Detroit.
Yeah.
Attracting black people. Now, if I'm telling a lie, brother, and don't know what I'm talking about because you from there, then go ahead and embarrass me in front of my audience and tell me you're a damn lie, Info.
No, you tell the truth 100%. And I think our second episode touched on gentrification. And I talk about it specifically because I don't know how other cities are. I don't know how much your audience knows about Detroit, but in here we have what's called historical districts. So historical districts there's like these old homes in a lot of areas. And I actually live in a historical district now, to where these homes, they have certain protections, their value and all this other stuff. A lot of those areas are in areas that are around areas that were struck with that were hurt in the 67 riots and stuff. So they try to preserve a lot of that because that's considered the city's history. And a lot of these homes, I remember when I was with my daughter's mother, we stayed around the corner from another historical district called Boston Edison. And like for years and years and years, and these homes, like if you see them, they're gorgeous homes, huge homes. Like if you come to Detroit, I mean, there's other areas in Detroit that have homes like this, but you will go through this area and you will see you're mesmerized. You're like, you didn't know that mansions are in the middle of the city. In fact, in that area, Berry Gordy's house is in that area. Stevie Wonder had a home there. Diana Ross, quite a few people from Motown had homes in this area. So it's a beautiful area, but the thing I had touched on, and I have a problem with gentrification because I said I get you need to build the city back up. You need to put more wealth in it, jobs, and those other things. You want to attract tourists. You want to bring all that money down into the city. So it's great to do that. But there's a lot of Black people who have had these homes for years, paid off, but property values weren't increasing. Taxes are going up. People were losing their homes for shorting their bills by $15, $20. And the city was quick to snatch them away. And I remember there was a point in time you could buy probably an almost 4,000 square foot house, like literally. House was in solid condition. The only problem that you had to deal with it is it probably because a lot of the people were older, and not to knock anyone who's up there in age or anything, but a lot of those homes, they just need to be updated because they hadn't been updated since like the 70s and 80s, but they were structurally intact, beautiful homes, brass, fixtures on the inside, good sturdy wood, all this stuff. You can go in and buy one of those homes for like $40,000 or $50,000. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, all of a sudden, I'm out in the neighborhood and I start seeing white people around walking their dogs and things like that. And another thing, if you know about Boston, Edison, and some of these historical districts, they're pocketed. So you are in this beautiful neighborhood. Literally, if you go across the street, you might be in one of the most dangerous areas in the city. So You're seeing them around. I'm like, what do they know where they are? But they started buying those properties up. They started buying them at auctions. And they were getting them for dirt cheap. And those houses instantly, the values increased. And just within the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, these houses are now back in the 6-figure range. They go, I think I've seen them range anywhere from $150,000 to a few of them are in the millions. Because like I said, some of these are real mansions. Right. But it's like, it's odd because you had these people who have been in these homes for 15, 20, 30 years, and they stuck it out through the riots. They stuck it out through depressions. They stuck it out when pockets of the city was going through its issues with drugs and violence and things like that. And they kept these neighborhoods beautiful. They're historical districts, not just because the city deemed them that. They're historical districts because the community took care of them. They kept them up. Right. But yet they weren't reaping the benefits of seeing the property values increase. They were steadily decreasing. But I'm here, I'm keeping my home updated. My yards are done. We're keeping it safe, protected over here. But yet my home is steady losing value year over year over year. But as you move someone else in there of a different race, the property values increase. And now those same individuals who may have left but want to come back into the neighborhoods, they're priced out or they can't afford them. We had a condo unit now, years ago was an apartment. A lot of older folks stayed in this apartment. There were beautiful apartments, big apartments. But what they started doing first was steadily increasing the rent over time and getting those people to have to move out. And I remember there was an article in the news and they interviewed an older Black guy who retired from one of the big three. And he had been living in that place, I think he said, for like 10 years. And he's like, they've steadily been increasing the rent, but amenities and things are not changing. He's like, I didn't have any questions or problems with it. I just went on paying it to a point where I couldn't get out or I couldn't pay it anymore. What he found out, the reason why they were increasing the rent is because they were turning the apartments into co-ops to eventually turn them into full-on condos. Right. Not only did they price them out to where he couldn't afford it, you have to move out. But you don't get the opportunity. They're not the ones that are getting the first opportunities to even buy the units that they're staying in. They're being offered out publicly to other people. So it was booting people out. So that stuff, like you said, is it real? Absolutely, 100%. I think we've seen it in Chicago years back, probably seen it in Atlanta at one point in time, New York. These cities are gentrified. They're largely Black populations. They gentrify them. And then they move white people back in, and all of a sudden property values increase. There's new life in the city. There's reason to bring more businesses down here and all this other stuff, but it wasn't like that before.
Right. I'm gonna touch on that. Let me do some acknowledgement. We got Money Boy Fems in the house. Peace to you, brother. Haven't forgot you. I will be in contact with you for an interview as well. Peace to you. Everybody check out Money Boy Films. That brother is the truth. Check out his channel. Give him some love. Brenda Johnson, I see you, sister. I see you. I see you. I thank you. You've been a big supporter of the channel. I see my man Yapo is in the house. He loves this particular subject that we're talking about. And then we got Citizen Man in the house. Let me say what's up to Citizens Man. That brother is a deep brother. He says we're gonna buy those properties and teach our people the importance of maintaining where we live and not allow it to be deteriorated. Good point. Then we got Sister Rico, Bizarre Foods, who came in the house. I don't if she's still in there. Everybody check out her channel and subscribe. Everybody that's a content creator in the chat room, or even if you're not, subscribe to each other's channels. Give support 100%. Help each other, because that's the only thing. We only got each other, black folks. And then we got my man, the guy from Texas. Is there anybody I forgot to shout out? QT1's in the house. Greg Harris is in the house. We got if I can make out his name, we got the Convert Man in the house. He says California passed a property tax law in the 1970s to freeze taxes. Now the socialists are trying to overturn that law. Interesting. And brother Birdman, they did pass a law in California where you can no longer discriminate against people, particularly black people, for wearing our hair natural. You no longer can do that. See, we're the only people in this country that they've had to pass laws to protect us.
Right.
It's kind of crazy that we got to have laws to tell people to leave us alone.
Yeah.
The group has laws passed to protect them like we do. I know the gay community's got some laws, and then women are a protective group, but nobody like black folks has so many laws just to tell people to leave us alone, and they still mess with us. Then we got I Am Tasha. Make sure y'all check out her channel as well. We got great people. I'm going to remind people again what we just were talking about. Like I said before, I did a video sometime back 2 years ago, but I don't have that video, in which in Detroit, Michigan, they actually have people looking at homes that they want to buy. They actually, check this out. This was how embarrassing it was. And let me open this back up again. This is how embarrassing it was, Brother Birdman, of the Fade Up podcast. You had white men looking at homes that they wanted to buy, and you had black women, black people on the computers talking about, this is a nice one right here, while he's buying up the homes they involved in the assault. And then they come driving around, knock on the door, and they say to you, guess what? Well, we own the house that you live in now, and you got two choices: either move out or you can become a renter. That was what was going on in Detroit and still remains. So I just want to remind people that are coming in saying, well, what are they talking about? What the hell are they talking about? That's what we're talking about, and it can't be denied. Now we got another sister that I love, Panda Hair. How you doing, Sister Panda's Hair, Cuddles, and more, candies and more? Greeting information, man, she says, and mods. Sister, I need everybody in the chat room to definitely give that sister some love. And I'm going to mod her up because she's a big supporter of me. I need you to check out her channel and give her some love in her channel. Subscribe to her channel too, folks. Black people, we all we got. So please subscribe to each other and share this video. Share it. I'm just a little old raggedy channel over here doing the best I can. Because I don't want to keep you forever though, brother, but I have another question. We talked about Detroit. Oh, I need you right now to let everybody in the chat room once again remind people of who you are, your podcast, and where they can find your show, as well as your social media, brother. And put this information on the description of this video. I forgot to put a few things in the description, so I'm going to put your additional information in the description of this video when we go offline. But go ahead and tell everybody.
Yeah. So you can find me. Like I said, the show is the Fade Up podcast. You can find my social media, Birdman Brand 84. That's on Instagram and Twitter. You can find the show. It's at the Fade Up podcast on Instagram. If you're on Twitter, it's at Fade Up Podcast. Unfortunately, the name was too long, so we couldn't use the whole handle. We also got our Facebook page that we're trying to spin up, the Fade Up Podcast. So you can find me on any one of those. Also, where you can find the show, we're pretty much everywhere. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. We're on Pandora. We are on Radio Public. We're like pretty much everywhere. And to anybody who is doing podcasts, I just want to let you guys know, if you're going to try to get on Pandora, because I know Pandora's their process takes the longest. They don't alert you when they add your show. So you might want to check, because I had to do that. It was like 4 or 5 weeks, never got an email. I'm like, man, what's going on? I happened to go on Pandora, and we were on there. So just a little tidbit to anybody who's doing podcasts, they're trying to get it on Pandora, and it's been some time, just go on Pandora, type in your show, and it might pop up there.
Yeah, I plan to get my what I'm doing on Stitcher and Pandora. So I'm going to be in the process of trying to get that going. And you're right, it does take time for them to process everything out. Wow, brother. This is what I want to tell you too, because let me let everybody know in the chat room that this brother and his show, they are going to create a YouTube channel at some point in time. And when you do that, this is what I would love to happen, brother. I would love for you to come onto my platform with your whole crew and do a show just like you do your show. And I just want to sit back and watch. And the reason why is because it's great marketing, and it also will alert people about your channel. And that is a way to pull people over to your channel, because I will market it up, get a lot of people over here so that they can go over to your platform and support you, God. So that's another way to market yourself. And then check this out. And peace out to brother BMT if you're still in the chat room. I know a lot of people within Black YouTube, so I'll be able to shout you out within the networking channels that I have. I know people who got even bigger channels who I can shout you out to and get you in there. And if you don't mind, brother, every now and then, because I don't know if you ever heard of this brother named Ben, who I'm cool with, who has a podcast called Seriously Not Another Podcast, and shout out to him if he's listening.
Check him out.
What I try to do sometimes when I go live on my shows, I'll put like a thumbnail when I use my OBS, and I'll promote your channel. So I'll go live and I'll say, make sure y'all check out, the Fade Up Podcast. Make sure y'all check out this. So every now and then I do a shout out. I market people. So every now and then when I go live on here, and even on my own podcast, I'm gonna shout you out. I'm gonna, because like I said, I'm gonna say it again. We are all we got, folks.
Yep.
We are all we got. And I'm not into this. I don't care how much shine you get, brother. If me promoting, telling people about your channel gives you shine, that's great. Because if you're getting shine, then I know that I can get shine. I just think that we got to help each other. And that's what I try to do on YouTube when I bring people on my platform or on my channel, is that I try to promote what the positive, because there's a lot of negative about Black men and Black women. And we need more brothers like yourself that are taking the time to create something that has an impact. So with that said, brother, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank
and
you.
chopping it up with me.
Thank you for having me on, man. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well then we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this again. You are going to, not to tell you what to do, I need you to repeat again where people can find you, because there's people that need to hear this again. Go right ahead, brother.
Yeah, check the show out, the Fade Up Podcast. Like I mentioned, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere that hosts podcasts, we're there. You can also check us out on our social medias. IG is at the Fade Up Podcast. Also follow us on Twitter at Fade Up Podcast. Follow the Facebook page, the Fade Up Podcast. And you can also catch me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at BirdmanBren84. And I really appreciate the love. And, anyone who has a podcast or show, let me know. I love to shout you guys out too.
Hey, check this. Oh, this is wonderful. Hey, Citizen Man, check this out, brother. I would love to have a one-to-one with you. whether it be you come on the pod, whether you come on live, or whether we do a over the phone interview where I put it live. And I ain't worrying about the cussing, brothers. Speak your mind. So don't trip off of that. I'm challenging everybody in the chat room. I'm coming for you. If I get your email, I'm coming for you to be up here with me talking about a variety of issues. Now, once again, Brother Birdman, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I appreciate you taking the time, because this is the thing. I always respect black people that I can reach out to who don't give me the cold shoulder and be like, man, who is this? Leave me alone. Right? So let me tell you something. No matter how big your show gets or how popular you get, don't underestimate a brother, a young brother, or a brother in general, or a sister who said, hey, sir, I would like to interview you. No matter how big you get in this social media, brother, never lose the common touch.
Yep.
Because you never know who that person might become as they're going up, and you might be going down. And then while you going down and you say, hey, remember me? They're going to be like, yeah, I do remember you. I tried to interview you when I was a nobody, and you gawked at me.
No, man, I never want to lose that touch. I really appreciate it. It kind of, for some reason, you saying that reminds me of this thing I heard with Jay-Z, where he said years ago, he's like, right now there's a young dude sitting at his table eating a box of cereals. That's he's doing the beats with his hands, and he's writing rhymes in his head, and he's like, I'm gonna find that dude and I'm gonna sign him. Right. I want no problems with him. And that just reminds me of that. You got to reach back to no matter how big you get, always be humble enough to reach back and help those, because you were at that point in time at one time in your life. So nobody that's ever made it big just woke up with their life the way it is. Everybody had to fight and get to that point. So always keep that in mind. Realize where you came from, and don't be afraid to reach back out to those that are in need when you get to that point.
Right. And once I'm gonna tell you again too, brother, before we end, that I really respect you, being a father and having sole responsibility of your daughter and stepping up, because you break the stereotype. But not only that, there's a lot of brothers like you that are doing this, but we don't get enough credit. They will spend more time demonizing us on the 10 o'clock news. Yeah. Even our own people will demonize us sometimes. But you are an example that I've been talking about, and many brothers and sisters on these platforms have been saying that there are black men out here who are doing their responsibility and living up to it big time in so many ways. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for being with me tonight. Tomorrow I'll be on at about 11 a.m. Western time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Central time. I got a brother coming on who is a teacher and educator. He's going to be talking about the Board versus Brown of education. He's got a book out, Blood on the Auction of Education. This brother is deep. He's out there in I think the New York area. He's involved in the side netters of the world and black out there. And this brother is deep, works with kids. I'm going to bring him on. He's going to promote his book, and he's going to talk to you about his studies and his findings as it relates to black children in education. Because if you ever heard what's that book, The Miseducation of the Negro Child by Carter G. Woodson. This brother's done extensive study on Carter G. Woodson, and we're going to get into this with that brother tomorrow. That's tomorrow's live stream show. Like I told you all, I only usually come on once a weekend. And when I do come on, I try to bring you quality content. I don't just live stream just to live stream. When I live stream, it's because I got something to say, and I got a quality guest and a quality program to provide you all. And I'm gonna tell everybody in that chat room, I don't have a big head. I appreciate every single one of you in there, from I am the black guy that is a cartoonist, from the sister here that just came in, 88. Sister, she's Asian, but she's come in. Appreciate you being here. I got a lot of different people that have been checking out my channel. We got Jeanette that's in the house here, George Frazier, Sugar Love, I am Tasha. We got the sister who is the AKA Miss VHS, beautiful avatar sister. Thank you all for coming and checking out the show. I go live and I try to give you quality content. So any last words from you, brother Birdman of the Fade Up podcast? Any last words, people?
I really appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you, everybody tuning in. I hope you guys check us out. And don't be afraid to leave us any feedback, subscribe, share, do all of that stuff. Even if you want to send us some topics, some stuff you want us to touch on, we're open to all of that. So, but again, thank you for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good evening out there in Detroit. I know you're 3 hours ahead of me. I'm in the West Coast. Everybody, again, that was Brother Birdman of the Fade Up podcast. Check him out. Subscribe to his podcast. Follow him and share this video today. I really appreciate this brother being here and all that that he is about. I have him on the screen center in front. Let me go to myself right now. And once again, thank that brother for coming over. Sugar Love, I'm coming for you too, sister, to come on the program. And I also enjoy being on your program as well. We got to do it again with Street Talk. I think you do Street Talk on Sunday evenings, if I'm not mistaken. Earl Owens, I am Tasha. All of you in there, I'm so happy that you were able to come over. Make sure that you share this in your individual social media. Brother Birdman, for coming over. I really appreciate you again. And with that said, I'm gonna have to unfortunately put a crescendo on the live stream tonight. But you probably will catch me in other people's live streams, checking in on other people tonight. And I appreciate you all for being here again. And let me put that beautiful avatar of the brother. Let me show you. I gotta do this. I want y'all to see. Check out this little intro that this is my classic intro. I used to use it quite a bit.
Just the info. It's the man with the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. It's the man with the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. It's the info.
All right, I'm back with it. And everybody have a good night. Thank you. This is the Information Man Show, okay? And Information Man Podcast. And peace to everybody out there that's listening to me on all the podcasting platforms. Have a good night. Peace to Brother Birdman and the Fade Up Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.
You are listening to Information Man podcast.
Information is power.